I love collecting stuff. Beanie Babies, Pokemon cards, ironic t-shirts. The more stuff, the better. As I dumped my latest additions from my shopping spree, the phone rang. I hurtled over piles of Beanie Babies, organized according to their estimated eBay values, tripped over one of my remote control cars and landed face first into an Easter basket full of bouncy balls, and toppled all 5 of my incomplete sets of state quarters. Where are you, Wyoming? As I lay beneath a pile of precious collectibles, the phone stopped ringing, which made me wonder, where should I put all my new stuff? It was then that I realized the ridiculousness of this situation. My blockade of stuff had, quite literally, excluded me from the outside world. Today, complaints of too much time spent working or using technology are all too common. As Richard Laird said in the June 24th, 2008 edition of London's The Guardian, our accumulated possessions depreciate in value. Like Jacob Marley's chains, they drag us down, rather than make us happy. Yet, we continue buying, hoping to eventually achieve the happiness we seek. Obsessively adding to our blockades of stuff deteriorates our relationships and our communities. To curb our materialism, we'll first examine the building blocks of this blockade. Then, we will breach the wall to examine the implications, and finally we will tear down the blockades for some solutions, so we can stop stuffing our lives with stuff. Unfortunately, our blockades of stuff occur because of the low self-esteem of consumers. A January 9th, 2008 article in Australia's The Courier Mail outlines the research of Deborah Roeder-John, a marketing professor at the University of Michigan who found that low self-esteem causes materialism in children. She found that the lower a child's self-esteem, the more likely he or she would turn, unsuccessfully, to material goods for comfort. Likewise, when we feel depressed, we turn to comfort foods or stuffed animals or clothes to make us feel better, rather than examining the true source of our unhappiness. We use our belongings as a barricade from our own feelings, and from the opinions of others. Second, we view obtaining stuff as a rite of passage to society. Birthdays, weddings, and graduations have become less about the important milestones they represent, and more about the gifts given at these events. Our materialism is most obvious on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, which marks the beginning of our Christmas shopping season. On this day of bargain shopping, malls transform into zoos, in which animalistic customers mob the entrances of stores before dawn and even get into fistfights over that last item on the shelf. A November 2007 article in the International Herald Tribune painted Black Friday as a sign that consumerism cheapens religion and spirituality. The start of our holiday season is marked by fighting others to get the best stuff, and we are expected to buy stuff for others to show our affection. However, while we are busy earning the money to buy that iPhone, our materialism causes our relationships and our communities to crumble. In the 1960s, psychologist Abraham Maslow theorized that only after fulfilling all of his or her needs could a person truly be happy. He argues we must first fulfill our basic biological, safety, and social needs before we can even consider self-esteem needs or self-actualization. We are stuck on the lower levels of the pyramid, unable to move on and pursue happiness. The way we pursue happiness should remind us of Orson Welles' film, Citizen Kane. Kane's materialism and workaholic attitude ultimately isolated him from everyone he ever loved. Ironically, upon his death he utters Rosebud, the name of his childhood sled, a reminder of a time he was poor but happy. In today's materialistic world, we too sacrifice relationships. Instead, we should savor the positive feelings we gain from these relationships. Also, we just don't have compassion for others anymore. In a February 2008 article of Regeneration and Renewal, psychologist Oliver James found that gaining money has become more important than forming social bonds. In his 2003 book, After Theory, Terry Eagleton argues that the very essence of humanity is the ability to feel compassion, asserting, technology is an extension of our bodies which can blunt their capacity to feel for one another. So, Our constant quest to collect the newest phone, computer, television, iPod is robbing us of our very humanity. Our increasing devotion to stuff has made us incapable of feeling compassion towards others. Likewise, the number of people who have volunteered their time has decreased drastically over the past generation. The 2005 book, Affluenza by John DeGraff, observes that only 13% of the population reported attending public meetings, and that volunteering for the Red Cross fell 61% since 1970. We need to remove the blockade to allow compassion back into our lives. We can reinstate our happiness by rejoining our communities and living simply. Now, this may seem like a huge undertaking, but there are some simple steps we can take. First, we need to engage in community activities. An article in the March 17, 2008 Boston Globe reminded us of one of our earliest childhood lessons. Sharing. It explains, instead of buying 15 snowblowers or lawnmowers, some communities only need 1 or 2. We can modify this idea to fit our own communities. Instead of buying a new dress for each school dance, establish a dress exchange. Plan a community garage sale. Instead of selling, residents can exchange items they no longer need for something more useful to them. Additionally, we need to challenge our consumerist society. Start by avoiding Black Friday. But most importantly, live simply every day. We don't have to move to a smaller house or refuse to buy any products to reap the benefits. On June 28, 2008, in the Dallas Morning News, Mary Jacobs, a recently divorced mom, recounted her experience with simple living. She found that she enjoyed life more when focusing on family and community. She says, "There's a kind of clean, green feeling to living simply, whether we need to or not. If we too value people over possessions, our reward will be happiness. Rather than feeling cold and empty inside as we endlessly hunger for more and more needless stuff, we will warm our hearts with compassion for others." According to the University of Michigan's 2008 Happiness Index, the United States is only the 16th happiest country in the world. Come on, people! We can do better than that. Today, we saw how our view of stuff causes us to buy. Next, we saw how our materialism is harming us. And finally, we tore down the stuff blockade and rejoined our communities. We saw that obsessively adding to our blockades of stuff deteriorates our relationships and our communities. I recently cleaned my room and discovered that I could actually see the floor. Now, when the phone rings, I can answer it. No problem.